Stay on point.
We are on point. You're just anxious.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Oh.
This conference will now be recorded.
That's better. So confused.
You guys.
It took a second, and I
I think it's close enough. Okay. If we may have your attention, we'll come back into regular session. And we have first thing on the agenda.
I'll say this in public session, even though everybody in the room already knows, but this evening is the last meeting for Mr. Harvey Hall, who has been our Chief Financial Officer since 2016. I wanted to take a moment, the meeting, to thank Harvey for his faithful service to the district, our community, and our customers, and personally thank you. We didn't necessarily know the size of the task when we came, and the community and the organization are better for it, for your service, your support, your friendship, and I appreciate you and thank you for that. We have a small gift. I didn't know it was going to be wrapped, so it's better. Entertain ourselves watching you. All right, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Final words for the organization. I know the board would like to say some stuff, so take the hot seat.
Okay, I'll just take a minute.
Not for the last time, because you still have a report.
Yeah, I know. I still got to do a report. I can't just duck out the door. Thank you so much. I just, again, appreciate that, you know, it's been fun working with the board. And thank you, Roger. Roger gave me a chance to be a CFO. He took a chance on me. And so I was glad to be able to do that. It's been fun to watch what's happened over the years, the challenges that the district has faced, going from a period of where you were to a lot of growth, watching your revenues go from 32 million to now we're pushing for a budget of 72 million. It just reflects a lot of growth, a lot of investment, a lot of capital investment, a lot of work. And it's been amazing to work with you guys. It's been amazing to get all the experiences of all the different things that we've done, whether it's going out and borrowing funds, whether it's setting up a risk management program, whether it's all the work that's been going on in budget and finance. Our audits have been clean. And on that note, I just want to say it only happens when you get great people behind you. So I just want to say thank you to Lana, because Lana was one of my first hires. We stole her from the bank. So I know this is about me, but it really isn't just about me. It's all about everybody behind me that did the work and made that happen. And Lana was a key individual for that. Just setting so many things up, and it's fun to be able to walk away from the district and see you in good shape, good financial shape. Your rates are in good shape. Your policies are where they need to be, and continuing down that path. Audits are looking good. We're in the middle right now. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but audit's going really smooth this year. Lana's running point on that. I'm especially proud to leave a staff behind that is very capable, and Lana will be leading that Lana's leading that, and you're going to be left in good shape. So then I can go ahead and announce that it became official yesterday. I'm going to accept the position as the Chief Financial Officer of Lubbock Power and Light in Lubbock, Texas. That'll be effective in April. They're going through their own transition. They're basically joining ERCOT, the first one in 25 years to do so, and they're deregulating their customer market, which is going to be a huge change for them. I'm stepping in. They're changing. Their CFO had moved on to university, and their CEO is retiring, and so I will step in April, and the new CEO will step in May, and there's going to be a ton of work to do. And it's, you know, when they're talking about capital work in hundreds of millions of dollars, they just add a zero onto it. It's a lot of work to do, so a lot of challenge. But I could not have been in that spot. I could not have been ready for that had I not had the opportunity to come here and work with you folks. So thank you so much for everything. Appreciate it. All right.
Wait a minute, sit down. We're not done yet.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd get away.
I'll start this out, and you guys can speak when you want to. But you know, Harvey, you have an amazing job.
Thanks.
I want to thank you for things that I can see that you have done since you've been here. There's no question you've been a difference maker.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I remember when I was sitting in the audience before I came on to see if I wanted to be here, I'd go home and I'd tell my wife, I heard this really smart guy talk for 30 minutes and he spoke English and I don't know anything he said. And now I understand the truth. I was very impressed then and it's another shot.
Thank you so much, Roger. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I haven't been around that long yet, but what I've seen has been impressive. And my background was in business and economics, so looking at balance sheets and things like that are fairly familiar. And,
Yep. Yeah.
I've been impressed with everything I've seen.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm just a new guy, but whenever I had questions, I'd sit in your office and we'd have pretty good discussions. So I appreciate you taking the time to try to
Yeah.
enlighten me on
Always enjoy those.
the internal workings of a PUD as opposed to cooperative fruit producing place.
I always could sense that Dan Williams was behind some of those a little bit because he would grill me on the extreme detail. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your years here, Harvey. You're the only CFO I've known since I've been here, so, but it's been really excellent. And I come from banking, and so I've
Yeah.
enjoyed your numbers. For
Thank
sure,
you so much.
and your, so, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you very, very, very much. Appreciate it.
I want you to open it in front of people.
Oh, gracious. Okay.
Thank you. It's chocolate, you gotta.
If it's chocolate, my wife won't let me bring it home. She'll. Out of here.
Christmas time, you're one of those kids that pour everything up, off, right?
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you so much. That's really, really nice. Thank you so much.
Need some wall art for those
No
sections.
way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they like wall art over there. Thank you so much. And as my son said, as he was kind of learning about the area, he goes, I heard it's so flat that you can watch your dog run away for 2 weeks. I actually told somebody down there that, and he goes, well, y'all know we got a way to solve that with clear line of sight about 300 yards. We can solve it. And I go, yeah, never mind.
Most Texas response ever.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very much so. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
See you up again in a couple minutes.
All right. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's go back. Anybody on the line?
We received no public comment.
Okay. Let's move down then to request for additions or deletions to the agenda. Any such things from the board?
I'd like to be added to the agenda after the departments make their reports. I've got a couple of things to bring to the board's attention.
Yeah, I did. Okay, old business? Nothing for old business? Consent agenda, anything to be changed, added, or deleted? This is what I like to hear. Okay,
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
do I have a second?
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Those against? I think that's 5. But I had to laugh. How you guys were saying yes. I like to change those off. too.
Bunch of yes men is what you want, right?
Yeah. I learned that from my wife. All right. I would like to make a comment right here, just because of one of the things that I saw in the outage report. And it was 131.22, and the AMIs picked up on a meter that stopped functioning on a couple of our men and women, I assume, of our constituents. They were home. They were not at home. They didn't even know that they were having any kind of problems with their electrical service. And then, of course, you know that. Then Ryan went out there, found the problem, fixed it when the people were still gone. And did anybody contact them, Ed?
No, but they did call in a day or so later, and they talked to an electrician that they'd been having issues. And I spoke with the electrician. I was like, well, we already took care of the issue that was the last one. He's like, oh, really? So I don't know if they were out of town and they'd gotten back and just noticed there had been an issue or something. So, but yeah, it showed up as an outage. It just happened to be the leg of power that powers the meter. If it had been the other one, we probably wouldn't have got it because the meter still would have power. It just happened to that cut loose with the weatherhead there. It broke open.
I think this is a testimony to the AMI process. You know, we took a little bit of flack from a small percentage of our constituents when we got into the AMI stuff, but we know that this is just a small measure of the things you can do with AMI. Period. Okay, division updates, and before we get into that, Mr. Teal, if you would, I think it would be advantageous for the board the next time we have a meeting, those of you that are heading up these management positions and these divisions, get a hold of Kathy McBride and let her know who's going to do the presentation, okay? So we can have that on our agenda. It's just helpful for us. Plus, I think it's a good PR for staff. You know, have their name on that agenda too. I think that's real advantageous for everyone. So if you could do that prior to every meeting, we would appreciate it. Okay?
Hopefully the general manager's gonna stay the same.
I'm not touching that. All right, so are you ready, Jeff?
I'm ready, thank you. I just have some highlights for you tonight of the division. I wanted to highlight safety for 2021. I don't know that I've talked to you yet in 2021. I guess remotely in January. We had a great safety year in 2021. No recordable incidents, 0 DART rating. Basically couldn't have been safer. We did one, as you know, we received it early last year, the 2020 NWPPA First Place Safety Award. Not wanting to rest on our laurels, our safety professional, Jimmy Wells, has continued to expand his education and pass on his knowledge to us, and so he earned his safety management specialist certification, and then also applied for and received a grant from SDAO to put those barriers basically in customer service to add some protection for the customer service representatives. Those are just some safety highlights from 2021. Going into engineering and operations, one of the bigger projects for the year is the rebuild of the portion of the silo feeder that goes from Old Moody Road to the Deschutes. That is almost underway. We're at the position now where we've got it staked in the field. I think I have it's kind of hard to see. You can see a stake. I found a photo with a stake and I was like, see, it's staked. So this is just one portion of the feeder. It's a long line with not many customers on it, but it's been a reliability problem over the last several years, which I'll show you on a graph I've got. So this is at the point where we are working with the county to understand more fully exactly what we will need to do. This requires coordination with the Gorge Commission, and so we're just making sure we have everything in place to get the permit with the Gorge Commission. And so we anticipate construction of this to happen in August. Other things going on, we're continuing copper wire replacement. I have some tactiles. So as you all recall, we had a tough winter storm in December. Some of us were out of power for quite a while. And one of the big contributing factors to that was this old solid copper wire, number 6 copper wire. And so this is a conductor. It's a good conductor, but it's also the strength. There's nothing else to give it support. And when it sits out in the elements for many years, it becomes brittle. And so it will break. It's known to break. So we've had a program of replacing it section by section as we get time and money. We can't do it all at once, but we're continuing to do some. We're doing some this week, actually, I believe. Right, Ed, over, hopefully, possibly. Might get deferred to next week, but over near Old Dufer and East 10. So this is the copper wire, and then this here is what we put in place of it. Looks much more robust. So this is called ACSR. It's got an aluminum conductor in the center with steel reinforcement. So that's what ACSR is. So the conductor's in the middle with the strength around it. So it's obviously much more robust. And this is the standard in the industry, ACSR wire. You can sort of see and feel the differences there.
So the big wet heavy snow broke the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, we might have had, I don't know, we had ACSR finish. We had other things, but
Majority of it was the
Copper.
at least 80%.
3 mile out by Greg's place.
3 places.
Luckily, we didn't have any out Rowena, which, knock on wood, that wasn't affected, but Skyline, 3 mile, that old Duper section out along 13th Street down to Richmond, Morton area. There's some sections in there that
The Rowena line is also copper, but it was once upon a time a transmission line. It's a bigger conductor, so it's got a little more strength, so a little more robust.
So Jeff, you hear about copper wire being stolen because there's a market for it.
Right.
Do we remarket this stuff to where, is there a way that we can?
We do sell for this scrap, yes. Yeah. In addition, we've got on order 2 new reclosers for wildfire mitigation. We're going to install one out downstream of the Ty Valley substation. We're going to install one there, and one on Cherry Heights, probably near the cemetery, to basically protect those more rural areas. We already have reclosers in many of the other rural locations, but those are 2 places where we don't, and that'll allow us to have a little better wildfire mitigation. So those are on order. Should be, hopefully we can get them installed before wildfire season. There are obviously delays in delivery of everything. We're going to do our best. The other thing we're doing is we've gone out to bid for some pricing on yoga mats. Yoga mats. This is a wrap. It looks like, for any of you who live rurally and have ever had chickens, and you want to keep the raccoons away from the chickens, it kind of looks like hardware cloth, but it's impregnated with a material that, when exposed to heat, will expand and do all kinds of magical things to protect the pole from fire. So it inhibits fire. So they'll dig down a few inches around each pole and wrap each pole. And we're going to install this on about 90 to 100 poles on the Rowena feeder, because there are a lot of spots there where there's difficult access for our crews to be able to get in if there were a fire in the area to do any other kind of mitigation tactics. So this is something we would install on a line rebuild, like it was installed on many of the poles on the Mill Creek rebuild a couple of years ago. And so we're going to retrofit some key areas this year.
How high up the pole does it go?
2 routes.
2 wraps, yeah. Thanks, Ed. I just echoed what Ed said because.
Are they going to continue to keep the weeds down around those poles?
Oh, absolutely. That's an annual thing, especially transmission poles. We do a 10-foot radius actually all the way around those poles, and then key distribution poles. We can do that as well. But the areas where we can't reach very easily, this is much more long-lasting than having to go and do weed treatment like every couple of years.
I cut a road out to a couple of poles on the east end of my property, and when the PUD guys are out there, I told them I cut it just so they could get to the place.
Thank you.
It was actually because I wanted to have my shooting range out there.
Oh, please wait till we're not out there. We appreciate it. And I keep mentioning the mystery word, the SCADA project that we're working on. We're still making progress on that. There's an RFP went out in January. It was in January. Got responses in February, and we made a selection on basically an engineering firm to implement the system for us. We'll be bringing that for you for approval next month, and then we'll also around that time be ordering hardware for the project. At that point, I'll give you a bigger overview of exactly what the system is and what it does and why we need it and why we're grateful that you agree to let us fund it. And then we're doing some, on the engineering operations side, we're doing some recruitment for a lineman. We did have, I think I mentioned a while back, that we had one of our linemen relocate east of here, far east, where they have banjos and things like that. And so we've been trying to recruit for a journeyman for quite a while. If you look, sorry, it happens. It happens, Roger. I'm sorry. If you look at any of the job boards, industry job boards, which none of us in this room ever do, but other than for work-related purposes, but there are probably maybe 10 lineman positions open in the region right now, journeyman lineman positions open. We can't find them, and the main reason behind that, we think, is there's probably twofold. A lot of folks retiring without people planning ahead of time, filling the pipeline with apprentices. And then also there's a lot of contract work available in California for those folks, and they make a lot of money working a lot of hours down there. And so it's tough to compete with that. And so we have had trouble getting qualified journeyman candidates to apply, but we have had a couple of apprentices, mid-level apprentices apply. So they're basically at least halfway or even more through the apprenticeship, and we're looking really closely at picking one of those up. So pretty excited about that. Photo. I've got some fun graphs. Tried to blow things up a little better this time. I have a big disclaimer up there. Note BPA source data is questionable. That might be the understatement of the year. We've had a lot of problems with BPA's metering data. They're undergoing an upgrade with their system, and it hasn't been smooth. So I feel pretty good about this, but and unfortunately, this is only through January. It's tough to pull February numbers together when there's a March 1st board meeting because of the reliability of this data, unfortunately. But I did want to point out that on January 1st, we did hit our historical peak, at least as far as our, as far as we trust this data at this point, 159.9 megawatts. It was definitely, I think we feel comfortable it was a historical peak. We'll probably want to vet those numbers a little more closely, see exactly what the number was, but.
I think we called it 162.5.
So we called it? Yeah. Okay. Nobody told me.
I didn't know it.
Okay, whatever you want to call it.
I heard it was over 160, but I didn't know it was 162.
Kind of like hand grenades, it doesn't have.
So this is our diversified load down here, and this is with all other loads added in that are large customer loads. And then again, this is kind of the characteristics of our load. Our diversified load in January made up 31% of our total load, with the other loads being 69%. And then high load factors. This load factor is always pretty high, but the diversified load factor is often lower than this. But when it's really cold and people's heat stays on, does everyone understand what load factor means? It's basically the ratio between what your peak load is and what your average load is. So it's a way to the more consistently a system is loaded, the higher its load factor will be. And so when we have these really cold days for days on end, people have their heat on consistently for days on end. It doesn't go down. We don't have the big shifts in temperature throughout the day, so we get higher load factors. And then these are more accurate. These are based on the outage reports that you see every month. Mr. Ortega over there puts these into a system that calculates some reliability numbers for us. I just have a couple of them on here, and I like to have a 12-month kind of look back, I guess. So this would be through January 2021, and the blue number is SAIDI, System Average Interruption Duration Index, and I've talked about that number before. I'll probably talk about it again when we get our APPA annual report. However, SAIDI was pretty low, and then in June we had an outage event. Anybody remember that? Who lived out in Rowena? Fire. Yeah, right. So we got a big spike, unfortunately, and then again pretty low, and then had again a big spike in December to account for the winter storms. And this other number is just total number of events. This kind of orange number. It mirrors or follows closely the SAIDI. But sometimes it's interesting to be able to look and compare these numbers. The blue number is more about the duration of outages, whereas this other number is how many events did we have.
It's interesting at the end where you went up to almost 30 outages, but the duration was really short.
Right.
That's kind of,
Yeah.
the rest of them kind of follow.
Right.
That one doesn't follow.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was trying to point out. Like, so usually they kind of follow, but in this case they didn't. Just the nature of the outages in January. And then this is the past 12 months. This is another. It's not a normal reliability statistic, but it's one of those statistics is calculated from this number. So customer outage minutes. Basically, you add up all your customers and how many outages they had and how many total minutes that was. That's what customer outage minutes is. And this is basically the total number of customer outage minutes per feeder for the top 10, I guess, worst offenders. Feeder 71, High Valley. So we had that bad winter storm. If I had made this in November, this would have been way down here quite a ways. But we had basically the whole High Valley substation out for quite a while at the end of December. So that's really high. Feeder 17, anybody know what that is? Shoot, I put it.
Jeff, they're right there.
Darn it. The Rowena feeder, again, attributed to the fire event we had in June. And then, so those are kind of the outliers, even though they're highest. These were attributed to abnormal events. And so when we get into these two, this is where it starts to make a little bit more sense. Feeder 22 and feeder 23 are east and west 10th feeders. And both of those have some pretty rural components on them. So feeder 23 is what goes out Cherry Heights and Mill Creek, and then feeder 22 goes out West 10th, and I forget the names of all those roads. Thank you.
Creek.
Right. And so more outages out there because not so much old copper in the case of one of them. This one, there's definitely some old copper, but just due to the rural nature of them, they're going to be a little bit more outage prone. But we are, as I mentioned, focusing on getting rid of the copper to improve reliability. And feeder 97 is our river trail, river road feeder. And I think this was all attributed to one event about within the last year. I just don't remember the event offhand. So going down, these are all. This is just a view that I like to look at every month to make sure we're focusing our projects on the areas that need the most investment. So we are, one of them up here is the Celilo feeder, feeder 42. It actually doesn't look very low right now because of some of these outliers. They normally would be a little higher, but we're finishing the rebuild on that this year. We'll continue to replace copper on this one. We're going to put a recloser in on feeder 71 out going towards Wamick. That would have saved a ton of time. Had we had that installed this winter, this number would have been way lower. So I believe we are putting the investments where they belong.
97 would have been June.
Yeah, part of it.
That was part of it. Yep, it was out for quite a while at that point. That's right.
So Jeff, I look at 32, which is obviously where I live.
Right.
And we were out quite a bit during that storm, but there was only like 5 or 6 houses past where the lines were down. So
And that's why the customer outage minutes number looks lower. I have another graph. I didn't put it in this presentation because I didn't want to overwhelm you with too many graphs, but there's one where I do just events, and on that one, I imagine your feeder probably goes to the left a little bit.
Probably. But I live in a place where there's not that many houses per line, per mile out there.
And then this one is just an interesting. This is going back from January 2015 to January 2022. Just the increase in each of these little. If you could look at all the dots that make up this graph, each of these is the daily peak. So you can see it going up and up and up and up and up and up. And we anticipate with some of the stuff we've been talking about today that will continue. With the all-time peak hit right here on January 1st. On the IT side, really quickly, we're doing some recruitment there also. I introduced our new, I announced at least our new IT supervisor a couple of months ago, Jason Pfister. He's doing a fantastic job and has led the way in two recruitments for his department. One is basically to backfill his old position, which we made an offer last week on Friday, and it was accepted, and so that individual will start in late March. So we're excited about that. He's a local guy with great capabilities and will help Sarah quite a bit. I also actually mentioned that before I started off, say that the best part of my day has been that Sarah is back this month, and thank you, Sarah. She's doing a much better job than I did.
We agree.
We know this.
And we know that.
We love you, sir.
And then we're also recruiting for a security specialist. So with the increase in focus and need for us to really invest time and effort into improving our cybersecurity stance, it's something we just can't do with the folks that we have. And so we're recruiting for a specialist, and we have some great applicants for that position as well. These are folks that will help deploy some of the projects that we have in our capital plan this year and in future years, and then keep a closer eye on the day-to-day tasks that we ought to be doing more of that we're just not able to based on our resources. Things like looking at logs, for trying to proactively look at anomalies before they become something more troublesome, basically.
Yep, I was just reading in the NRECA magazine about a new cyber program they have that co-ops and PUDs can sign on to, and it's to get a network of people working. So if something shows up in the cyber scene, it's passed on. Is that something we're at all interested in?
We are actually involved in a lot of those things already. There are some Department of Energy I don't know if I want to call them a forum, groups that do exactly what you're talking about, where we share information when events happen. We notify the entire group, and then so the entire industry knows at once, hey, there's a vulnerability that we found in this particular area. You have this similar setup, you might want to take a look yourself. So we do that quite a bit, and then we're involved with I forget which agency now. Wish Jason was here. You don't happen to remember who's doing our external scanning? It's like the Department of
Homeland.
It might be Homeland Security. I think it's Department of Homeland Security. We're signed up with them to, they externally, from the outside in, are scanning us for vulnerabilities continuously, and it's actually a free service. So, but if it was in the most recent NRECA magazine, I'll check that out to see if it's something else.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. I bookmarked it on my computer, but as my computer at home, I don't have it here.
But exactly what you're talking about, we need a resource to be able to take that information, then apply it and do something with it. And so we're looking forward to having a little help with that coming months. We did also in January, we created an incident response plan in late December, early January for IT type events, cyber events. And it was a requirement. It's something we should have had anyhow, and we would have had anyhow. It was a requirement for our cybersecurity insurance coverage, and we tested that incident response plan by running through a scenario together as the group, and that went really well. We deployed a password vault, or in the midst of deploying a password vault, which I believe you folks could have access to. It's a place where you can keep all of your passwords other than on sticky notes. And you can make them more complex than just your kids' birthdays and things like that. And so you just need to know one password and to access that vault, and it's encrypted. And so we have a business level subscription to that now. If you have questions, reach out to IT through a help desk ticket or something like that, and they can get you set up with that. And then we've also developed some new standards around laptops. We have a kind of a top tier laptop for the more intensive users, and then a lower tier version or mid tier version for the regular users, to make it a little easier to when somebody needs a new machine, just to buy the standard. We've got a new agreement set up with one organization, so we buy directly through them and sort of streamline that process. And all of that I'm talking about, but is really the result of Jason Pfister's work, and he's on vacation right now, or he'd be logged in hearing these accolades, but he's really done a great job in the short time he's been supervisor. I think that's all. That's all I've got for you tonight. Any questions beyond what you've already asked?
Okay, here's none. Thank you very much.
No. I'm gonna do old school. So, events for finance for this month. The big event for us right now is obviously going to be, we did our year-end. We've been working on year-end close. We've got a preliminary that's out there. The board that went to the board in February. There's going to be subsequent changes to that. Part of it is we have our unbilled revenue calculation that is going to affect that. But we also have a true up for corrections with the BPA billing errors. The finance staff and the power resource group have worked very closely together to try to make sure when you don't have accurate billing data and the messages and the bills you get from BPA, you're trying to, I know Kurt and his team were doing the best they could to try to come up as close to what they think it really should be for those bills. And Lana and team were busy trying to try to get as close as we could in the year of 2021 to try to get as close as we could so that we didn't have any nasty surprise. We came close, but we will be looking to do a correction for that in our audited financial statements. We've done that. The auditors already know about that. It'll be a downward revision to our net income. It's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of about $300,000, a little bit more than that. It'll be a downward revision. And that's just basically because of the accruals, trying to come as close as you can as you start to get better information from BPA. That's kind of what it's starting to look like for us. So hopefully I think everybody's excited on the power side, on the operations side, on the finance side. I think we will all be very delighted when BPA data comes in and it's accurate. That's always a good thing. Audit's going very smooth so far this year. This is the week of what they would call the final field audit for Moss Adams. Only this is going to be all virtual, so they're looking through. We're right in the middle of it right now, and it's quiet. It's relatively quiet. Not quiet on your side because there's a ton of data exchange going on, but nothing of concern that's come up yet. Typically, in an audit, when they make 2 runs at it, they make their initial run. In the past, we used to do that in January. This year, we were able to do it in December to avoid year-end close. When they come out and they check your controls, when they check a lot of key indicators, that's usually, if it's going to be a rough year, almost always you're going to start finding out right away. And their first cut through is when things start to come out that it's like it's going to be a bumpy ride or it's going to be fairly smooth. It was actually quite quiet. We actually got and it's again a testimony. I think I mentioned a little bit before last time, and it continues to play out, and that is just great coordination between finance and operations side for closing work orders. It is a big deal to them. It is a big deal at our financial statements that gets done accurately and it's being done well. So it's been quiet, and so far it's remained that way, and we hope to continue the quietness. And so a note went out for the Audit Risk Committee members to just be able to be available sometime near the end of this month, either on the 28th or 29th. I think they're trying to set that up, and that's going to be a chance where Moss Adams will give its first draft cut of the audited financial statements to kind of give you a heads up on anything of any question. The great thing about the Audit Risk Committee is it's one thing when Moss Adams can come and present to the whole board. It's an opportunity when there's only 2 board members who can go in depth and have a free-ranging exchange of information and disclosure. It's intended to be that transparency between the board directly with the auditors, and Jim's involved in that too, to have that conversation, to hear it unfiltered. Because that's the kind of conversation, the transparency the board needs to have to be able to be effective in their role and to have that. So the Audit Risk Committee it's a very important feature that was established by the Enterprise Risk Management concept. And it's something that is intended for you to have unfettered access to ask the questions, to hear things directly from the auditors and know exactly what's going on in the district. There'll be the more formal presentation in April for the board, but usually so that's going to be an important feature of that. Insurance, we got in the month of February is when we insure our hydro assets. They're insured from February 15th each year. That anomaly started back in 2019 when we faithfully got called. It was in 2018. I'm coming home from an SDAO conference in November and was notified that within 6 weeks our insurance was going to be canceled because the provider no longer will be in that business. So they just let you know that within 6 weeks you will be out of insurance for your hydros. It's just $61 million. Got that covered. Got that initially set. We worked with Marsh McLennan on that, got that established. So now we have this iterative date that goes February 15th to February 14th every year. So it's just this odd cycle. Every year is kind of a bit of a journey and event. On average, they were looking for hydro insurance to go up. That generation insurance to go up in the order of about 15%. So they're fairly substantial changes, and that's just a reflection of the market. It's a reflection of concerns about fire and generation assets that lead to fires. And they do take note that we have our generations in the middle of the Columbia River, probably not likely to start a forest fire in the middle of the Columbia River, but they do take that into it. Our actual increase was 8.4%, so about half of what the experience of everybody else is. They're well-run units. They've inspected those units, and that got reinsured. It's just they get a little tight on when they do that. So we finally got that notification on, I believe, February 12th that it's all bound and in, and it was effective February 15th. So the hydros are covered again. It's just always an event. It's just always an event. The other thing I thought I would mention too is short-term investments. So currently our $24 million, most of that, if it's not sitting in a checking account, is sitting in a local government investment pool. We do have one short-term investment that's going to come to maturity here this month. Other than that, we really don't have anything. We haven't really done any short-term investments because what we have in the local government investment pool has, over the last year, significantly outperformed what you could get on the short-term market for investment. So right now we're getting a whopping 0.45%. It was sad to say that most of 2021, that was almost double the market. And so it's safe, but things have changed. In the last 2 months, we're actually starting to see market for short-term rates go up over 1%, which is a significant jump. I actually contacted our broker, only to find that our old broker had left 8 months before. We just hadn't been talking because there'd been no need. New person is in there, and he was excited to say, so I had him give us some assessment on what some, within our parameters, because we have to operate with at least single A grade or better, and we have to operate within an 18-month horizon for short-term investments. That's what we're bound by for State of Oregon law. And so he came back and said that we could get 1.19%, which is better than 0.45%. So there's certainly going to be some short-term investment opportunities for the district, but it just shows you that what you're looking at. I kind of had that feeling. One thing that you watch for short-term investments that's the bellwether is 2-year treasury notes. And I was already starting to see 2-year treasuries go up to at least 1%. And so I pinged them, and they just hadn't contacted us. So they just they get quiet. So anyway, exciting times ahead, a lot of change coming up. Inflation is certainly the story for 2021. That'll affect our budget, the budget process coming up, our compensation. So that's what's going on in the finance world. Sometimes boring is good.
Any questions so far?
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good job.
Thanks.
Everyone back.
I was thinking, looking at the whole board agenda, resolution 05-2022 could go into new business, right between 4 and 6, if you wanted to do it.
It can go in anywhere that the board wants it to.
Okay.
The board wants to consider that resolution at this point in time, with respect to the execution of certain contracts. I'm prepared to read that resolution for the record.
Let's do that now, because
Okay.
we have you here, and let's just.
Perfect.
Sure.
Before there's a motion, why don't I read the resolution?
I think everybody's got a copy of that.
You don't want me to read it?
I think it'd be good to read it.
Okay,
I think
I'm
everybody-
gonna put my glasses on before I read it.
Get ready.
Thank you. It's in the matter of contracting for construction of electric services, resolution 052022. Whereas a customer of the district has executed a facility site evaluation request and agreement with the district to develop a plan of service to supply electrical energy to the former Northwest aluminum smelter site. And whereas the district's plan of service requires a new double circuit 230 kV transmission line and switch yard at the former smelter site, paren electric service facilities, close paren, and whereas pursuant to the district's customer service policies, the plan of service will be funded as a contribution in aid of construction by the customer requesting service to the former smelter site. And whereas the district has retained the services of Power Constructors, Inc. as the design builder for design and construction of said electric service facilities, now therefore be it resolved, Board of Directors authorizes staff to enter into construction contract for these electrical service facilities contingent upon the following conditions: approval of the final contract terms found to be satisfactory by the district's general counsel and the general manager, and conclusion of the task authorization funding agreement with the customer receiving service from the electric service facilities, be it enacted by the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District this first day of March 2022.
Mr. Foster?
I move to accept resolution 05/2022.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Kathy, do you have the motion and the second?
Yeah, and then Wayne, did you second it?
Yes.
Okay, yep, I got it.
Any further discussions or comments on that resolution? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by yes.
Aye.
I was gonna say aye. And opposed, no? Okay, it does pass unanimously. All right, thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you considering that request and passing the resolution. We'll move forward as expeditiously as possible.
Yeah.
Now, on to my regular division report. And we're going to start with the 2 hydro plants. Good news since the last board meeting is that the winter outages were completed on the 18th of February. So both our plants are back online and producing power. Mcnairy Fishway annual outage started on January 1st, and some critical plant maintenance work was completed. Most notably, there's a 115 kV disconnect switch located on top of the Corps of Engineers powerhouse that had to be partially disassembled, a critical component welded back together, and then placed back in service and calibrated by an experienced technician. All of that work was done, and so we feel a lot better. There was actually the metal was cracked on a piece of that switch, so it could have failed, and it would have been potentially a catastrophic failure. The Dallas Fishway, the outage schedule is primarily driven by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers activities, including installation of new controls at the fish ladder entrance, and they completed their work again on the 18th of February, last Thursday, and we got the plant back. No, not last Thursday, Thursday prior. God, I'm flying. Anyways, got the plant back online, and it's producing power. The Mcnairy Fishway easement for ingress egress is now fully executed. So we hold an easement to construct the facilities that I've discussed so many times in the past. We are working with Clickitat to reconstitute the project committee and gain consensus around ingress egress. And in April, we'll be meeting with them at the project with a technical advisor to review the entire project as well as the ingress egress proposal. So there'll be more to report in the future at this point. We're just working in the direction of get the plant back online and then get the technical group together meeting at the plant. At the Dallas Fishway, it's really interesting. You know, we sold the output from the Dallas Fishway starting on January 1st, 2022 to a company named Brookfield Renewables. They were the highest bidder for the output. And they have taken that energy, delivered it to California, Portland General Electric, Spokane, Washington, and Montana. And the strategy they're using, we get to see all this because we deliver power to them before they resell it, is really driven by EIM pricing. So you all have heard about Energy Imbalance Market, Cal ISO. But what we're seeing is the world has turned upside down this year in many ways. But EIM pricing, it used to be, you know, you'd buy an on-peak power product, and that meant from 7 a.m. to 2200, 10 p.m., or actually 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That was the peak pricing hour. Well, now we see that the peak prices are happening at the end of the day and in the morning. And in the middle of the day, power prices drop. And we've got like a lower price during the middle of the day from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., like today. And then on the shoulder hours, the price really shoots up. And it's because California has so much solar power down there that the demand on the interties at Celilo and John Day, the loading, you can see the loading drop down from peak up of, 3,000 to 4,000 megawatts, which is the capability of those lines. It'll be maxed out at night, and when the sun comes up, the demand on those lines drops way down. You see the power transfers drop. You can see the federal dams working exactly the opposite diurnal pattern that they were doing 5 years ago. So, and we see it now with our plant. It's being marketed south into California at night where they can get the premium price, and it's being delivered in the Northwest during the day. So really interesting stuff. Anyways, we are building a juvenile fish sampling facility this spring. It's going to provide sampling of juvenile fish on the ground level instead of way up at the top of the intake facility. So it's achieving better safety factors, and we believe it's going to be a lot more effective in allowing people to observe the fish and take their samples. And we have poured concrete out there. The steel structures are being constructed, and at the next meeting, we should be able to provide some pictures.
What are they sampling for? Fish sample?
It's a survival of downstream migrants. So our Dallas Fishway project has a large intake structure that's about 150 feet long and maybe 40 feet wide, and it's got a screen running diagonally. It's a screen that's about 20 feet from the top to the bottom, and the water passes through that screen, and the fish are excluded or moved to the end of the screen, and then they're dumped off of a weir, and then they go down a bypass pipe. And that's how we keep from moving juvenile fish through the turbine. They get screened out and bypassed. Now, when we got the license for the project, it was conditional upon sampling the physical condition of these downstream migrants. downstream juvenile migrants. And they include, salmon, steelhead, various, listed species. But we also get a ton of shad and skullfish and prawns. I mean, there's 20 different types of juvenile fish. A lot of them are not listed species. So, but Rick Martinson has to take a sample of fish over a 24-hour period, count the number of listed species versus unlisted, and evaluate their condition. If they're dead, that's a bad thing. If they're alive, it's good. And so most of the fish do pass through our facility live, and we can prove that. We have the data to show it, and that keeps our license, it keeps our low impact hydro certification up to date and valid. And with the low impact hydro certification, we get RECs, renewable energy credits, and those RECs now can result in somewhere around $40,000 a year of revenue for the PUD.
What the percent is of the ones that make it?
It's 90-some%. It varies by year and by month. The biggest downstream migration tends to occur early spring, April, May timeframe. And so we've seen as many as 300 or 400 fish come through in a 24-hour period that get screened out into our facility and sampled.
How often those screens have to be cleaned? There's a lot of debris in there.
Yeah, so they do. We have a brush system that runs on cables and pulleys that brushes that entire 20-foot high by 100-foot long screen. And when it brushes it, all of that debris comes up and goes through the bypass. And so our folks have to make sure to get that out of there and avoids harming the fish. So it's complicated.
So we've talked about this before. Rick Martinson was at one of our meetings. What's the justification for spending all this money if we've already got a 95 or 90% survival rate?
Yeah, so it has mostly to do with the ability to get a person up. We have to currently use cranes and other, heavy equipment to move the sampling equipment into place. Every year, it's, quite a process of getting set up for sampling. Then when the technician or the biologist is in there doing the sampling, we should bring you out to the project. You'll see they're sitting perched out kind of on the edge of about a 50-foot drop, and they've got to be pulling fish and water splashing everywhere.
This is a safety issue.
It is as much as anything a safety issue. And, at some point, Rick's going to turn over the sampling to, a new person. And we just want to make sure that we've got the best sampling facility. It's built to what the current state of the art is in sampling.
So it's not going to change the outcome of the fish survivability. It's just a safety issue for the biologist doing the thing.
Yeah, in fact, the sampling facility has very little to do with fish survival, other than the current bin where they capture the fish during sampling it's like a large rectangular box, and the water dumps into it and then kind of spills off the edges. And sometimes fish get trapped in the current sampling box. It's really hard to say, well, is that mortality that's associated with the sampling facility, our screen, or perhaps the trash rack? So there is one line of defense before we get to our screen, and that's what's called the trash rack, which is on the upstream side or the reservoir side of the dam. And it's steel bars that run vertically and kind of comb out all of the sagebrush and other floating debris that comes down the river. So that doesn't get into our screen, hopefully. Some of the little twigs and stuff do. So that's really what passes through from the reservoir side to our project. But we need to keep that trash rack clean also, otherwise fish can get entrained in sagebrush particularly bad because it's got, you know, sharp points on it, which tend to descale fish.
That clarifies what we were doing
Okay.
and why we were doing it. So
Yeah.
I didn't get that from the previous discussion.
But well, you know, I
I'd
think,
love to go on a field trip to check out all those facilities.
yeah, well, let's set that up, and definitely in the next board meeting, I could envision doing a picture show showing the new project. We may not have the actual sampling station done by April, but we'll have most of the key components in place. On wholesale power contracting, Jeff mentioned this, Harvey mentioned it, BPA meter data. That's something that Power Resources uses for settlement with not only just our own bill settlements, but also with our customer. So we've got to get good data there. We have estimated bills now for November, December, and January. That is, we don't have final bills, even those months are getting further into the past. We expect to get final bills with true-ups that will be applied when good meter data is restored. A lot of the metering issues are associated with BPA's efforts to join EIM by this spring. They've had to delay it because of the metering data issues they faced. Their vendor made some mistakes, and they've had to work basically 24/7 since the end of October, and they're still trying to correct things. We're currently managing 66 megawatts peak of non-federal energy transactions around the clock. So right now, as we speak, there's 66 megawatts coming in to our system for resale and that's 66 megawatts of non-federal energy on top of BPA energy to serve the load. Jeff showed you the total load chart with the 160 megawatt peak. So we're bringing in a lot of wholesale power right now. We're developing power purchase solicitations for Q3, Q4 of 2023 and 2024. Those will go out tomorrow morning, and we'll close the deals next week. Mid-sea power prices remain historically high with extreme volatility. For example, in August 2022, the power product being sold on peak is priced at $161 per megawatt hour. The calendar year 2023, round the clock 24/7 energy is $56 per megawatt hour. So think about that, $161 per megawatt hour for August, $56 per megawatt hour for calendar year 2023. Our BPA energy is delivered to us at $35 per megawatt hour, and that is shaped with load shaping capacity. So those ripples that you see in Jeff's chart are covered by that product at $35 per megawatt hour. From March 2020, when COVID started, to April 2021, the mid-sea product was sold. The mid-sea calendar year 2023 energy could have been purchased. That is, had I done it back then, the cost was $30 per megawatt hour. And again, that's a product that now sells for $56 per megawatt hour. Same product, exactly. So that's the kind of power prices we're dealing with and the type of volatility that we see. Now, I did hand out this chart here. This explains some of the volatility. There I have the slides up on the screen. And so the first page, which is like lots of blue and really dark green, looks great, doesn't it? If you look at the legend down here, you'll see that all of that blue and dark green means that we've got like 125, 150% of normal snow water equivalent. That's January 1st. So what has happened week over week is got really a lot better, January 7th, early January. Then what happened? The precipitation just stopped. And then we're here at the end of January and everything's looking kind of pale green. It's getting paler and paler. And then we get to February 4th and it's almost looking yellow. Then, yeah, that guy does look yellow, and that's Northern California, you know, kind of Klamath River Basin area. So that's really bad. We keep going, and he's gone full yellow, and all of this pale green is no good. Snow water equivalent below normal. And then you get to February 28th, just yesterday, and that's what you have on the back. So that is what's going on with the snowpack, and it's having a huge impact on wholesale power prices for later this year. You can just imagine what July looks like if there's 50 to 80% of normal snow water equivalents. And so when we go to the last chart, which I didn't give you a handout of this is that classic, chart of what percent of normal water we're currently experiencing. This is plotted over time. If we start at the beginning of the water year, we had a dry basin as our initial conditions. So the median level starting point was below normal. And it did not improve until we got into December, and then it started snowing, which yesterday like and things improved, it was looking really good as we got into January. These box and whisker charts basically tell you the probability of the future outcome in terms of water content, water supply for this April-September water year period. But you can see by the beginning of February, we were getting into trouble, and throughout February, it's been nothing but trouble in terms of where our water supply conditions are going. Now, it does indicate here, this is the normal water line, that there is about a little better than 25% probability that we could turn out with normal water on the April to September period. And then there's what is this, 10% probability that we could be above, kind of the under 10% line. So it's not, hope is not lost. I mean, it's been raining like crazy today, which is good. But this causes a lot of concern in the industry. That's the end of my speech.
Questions?
Open for questions.
Okay.
Pray for snow. Love the rain.
Too warm though, it's not giving us snowpack.
Yeah. Yeah. Rain's better than nothing, but I'd rather see snow. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Okay, corporate services.
Well, you're stuck with me tonight. Cindy is in Washington, D.C. at the American Public Power Association Legislative Rally. She started texting me at 6 o'clock this morning, forgetting what time it was here, and was very glad to share that she and the others were meeting with Kurt Schrader's staff, and that later in the day, the APPA board adopted the resolution in support of Pacific Northwest Hydropower, the Federal Columbia River Power System, and in opposition to even studying breach of the Lower Snake project. So the resolution that had been passed around, APPA adopted, and now the folks are sharing that with the Oregon delegation. So great news to receive from DC. She also shares what reshared what folks have talked about tonight, that we're actively working some recruitments to continue to bring the talent into the organization, and that annual performance evaluations have wrapped up, and now that we're in March, we'll be doing goals for the following year. I mean, everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, but that way there is a performance management process associated with that, and wage adjustments will be next month for those that will receive. So again, thanks to the board for all of their support. We've had some kind of fun social media posts and some good articles in the Ruralite, and we're going to start participating in some of the local event clubs and groups are starting to invite us back for in-person meetings. I believe a few of us are going to go to the Lions later this month. I think it's later this month. So April. So we'll refresh our presentations, and we'll definitely let board members know if you'd like to join us there for those conversations.
That's a good idea. And if you haven't gone to those meetings before, I'd suggest you do that. You'll know a lot of people and get a lot of feedback and a lot of fun, and it's just really good.
That was it for corporate services. Okay.
Thank you. Let's see, where are we? Justin. Yeah.
Good evening. All right, so customer service by the numbers. This is our dashboard. A lot of things really just kind of maintained as what we've been experiencing. Answering service and our average wait time. We did have a little bit of there coming out of December. CRC, our call center service, had, they were impacted by the weather elements as well. And so, but they managed well. They've really have navigated the waters and having additional sites set up to handle those calls. It's all virtual based. So the average wait time for customers was still pretty minimal, which was nice. And then our disconnects, connects, we're seeing, you know, pretty much kind of the standard, not a lot of movement with regards to new residents coming into the area, but we are seeing building. That's starting to kick up with the change in the weather and things like that. So construction is underway. And so once the rains stop, I'm sure it'll keep going forward with that. If you want to hit the payment analysis there. So this is our trend over the last couple months. Sorry again, it seems it's always a little small there. The big spike right there is our website. And our website, thank you to Sarah and Cherish, we've updated our customer service portal. It's got a new look, a new feel. When we were trying to make it work, if you click on it, it still doesn't pull in. Oh, so this is a snapshot. It doesn't actually take it to the live site. It's got a newer, fresher feel to what used to be the old customer portal. The big driving piece to this is when we look at this, before customers didn't have the option, but now they have this quick pay option. And it's really seamless for them to be able to go in, click on that. They don't have to be, I guess you could say cumbersome with, account numbers. It just really streamlines their process. So that big spike in the website is really driven by the customer portal and its new kind of features available to customers. We've had a little bit of bugs along the way that Sarah's helped work with SCDC in getting those resolved. But so far, customers are liking the feel. If we had the live version, we could show you what it looks like in terms of when we log into a customer account or your individual account, the usage and how that displays on graphs and how you can overlay weather, temperature over to that, and really help. Those are those education pieces that customers really need to help kind of understand why their bills may be a little bit, elevated, because it's like, oh, well, right there, it's below freezing temperatures, for long periods of time. So, but anyways, that's been a really nice feature that customers have been able to take advantage of.
So they pay by credit card via?
They can pay by credit card, yeah. They still have all the same options. Coming into office, we have seen a little bit additional flow of customers coming into the office. They like to visit, so we're more than willing to have them come in and visit a little bit and answer any questions that they may have. Okay, we'll go back to the main dashboard. Our age balances, we have seen a little bit of an uptick, and that's to be expected since we are not doing disconnects due to extreme weather. So right now, for all things for February and March, compared to months prior, slight uptick. Year prior comparison, it's up 9.15% for February, 39.6% for March. That's probably mainly driven again due to some of the weather that we're experiencing and not feeling comfortable about re-engaging our customers with the disconnect process. When the night temperatures are still dropping down, yeah, we're not going to take that stance, and we're going to just be mindful, still communicate out with our customers, you know, of their arrear balances and help just kind of manage things for them.
Yeah.
Sure.
223 is the current customer counts to make up that total.
That's correct.
We average 115-ish.
Yeah, normally it's actually below 100 normally.
Okay.
Again, that's taking into account the 30 days. So if we were to drop off the 29,486, you know, that drops that overall dollar down, you know, well, what I would call more manageable. That 30 days is truly just customers that have been billed and we have not yet received their payment, so that they're still within their window. It's just how the report pulls out. Go to the commercial. Commercial is managing, you know, pretty similar. We have 10 customers, just a slight uptick. But again, a lot of our, we've tried real hard in managing our commercial accounts with automatic payments where they, you know, they're already set up through ACH and those payments come in automatic. So none of those payments are getting lost in the mail or slowed up in that process. So just slight, you know, a little bit from month prior and a year prior comparison, 39.34%. Again, to me, it's not alarming and it's manageable. We're still communicating to customers and still being mindful. So
customer count right now is 10,300-ish residential total. So,
small percentage.
Yeah, so 10 out of that, or even 200 out of that. That's not.
And again, that's taking into account those 30-day, you know, past due customers. So
Thank you.
Scroll down for me. Okay, this is what our programs are doing. Our neighbor to neighbor has seen a little bit more activity, and that's mainly because of some of the funding that is available out there to customers through light heat funding. And so we're starting to leverage more of our neighbor to neighbor program funds to be able to help customers. And I'd still like to try to manage that internally and not have to use our community partnership with the Community Action Council office. Our discount scheduled 110, 135 customers, that always kind of fluctuates a little bit here and there, but that's the approximate number of customers along with the dollar amounts that are associated with those customers.
Hey, Justin, I have a question, because I contributed neighbor to neighbor for a long time. You know? Well, I did on a yearly basis. But anyway, how many people are contributing to the neighbor to neighbor program?
I know the dollar-wise for 2021. In terms of actual number of individual customers, that I would have to get back to you on that individual number. Yeah, I just had it was a talking point that I had printed off for my radio talk the other day.
Give me your radio voice.
Lily sat in for me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, that's always still in my line.
Yeah. So generous in 2021, this is unmatched PUD dollars, $8,323. And so again, that's partly of contributions. That's also, you know, monthly amounts, and then that also takes into account our roundup program. So
easily 100 people or 80 people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So again, that's where I really want to start looking at leveraging our own income qualifying services through our platform that we use in our energy management group to help these customers. So there isn't a bottleneck for them to go through the CAP office. And so, yeah, the LIHEAP and Yakima Nation, those are the existing pledge counts. We, to date, that's been paid of that total 17,845, 2,815, which means we have open pledges of over $14,000 that goes to those past due balances. They're just not, they have not matured, or we have not received those funds from the CAP office. So there's money there, or has been spoken for those customers. And then our customer deposit returns. We must have had a pretty good uptick from accounts being opened. We actually returned 8,504 in customer deposit returns, those that met the qualifications. Scroll down for me.
That's been cleaned up pretty well, hasn't it?
Yeah, has really, having it automated in the system has been really nice, both administratively and then also for customers to be able to, that are being diligent about managing their accounts. Yep. Surveying, we only had actually two responses, which didn't really move our needle much there. But you can see, obviously, our response to outages is still scoring very high. Whereas our response to billing questions and to opening, closing, transferring accounts is still a little low. Some of that is when they get our answering service, they're only able to get so much information from there before they still have to transfer back to the main office. So it's kind of one of those things. So the customer still gets frustration. And then the next two graphs, actually three, is the Lewis and Clark parking EV charger, and what that's showing is the average month-to-month kilowatt hours. Surprisingly enough, in the last month, they've seen a really big spike there in usage. I'm not quite sure what's going on down there. Maybe more foot traffic, or maybe just more town residents using free charging. I'm not sure.
Gas hit $4.
Yeah.
And then the second one is our main parking EV charger. It's now a dual port charger out here. We actually have seen a little bit of a reduction. So again, they're probably charging downtown versus here at the office. And then we've installed the one now back in engineering and operations, and there's only ever one car parked there. And it has accumulated a whopping 2 kilowatt hours. So, Rob's car is just not really working it.
Is that Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to borrow the car from your wife and come plug it in.
That needle will move a little bit. And that's what we have for customer service. We'll transition over to energy management.
Justin, I'll throw this out there. I am logged into my personal portal, and I can take it to the screen if Sarah doesn't throw anything at me. If you would like us to do that.
It's up to the board. If you would like to see a little bit of the glittery shininess, do you have your usage up there?
Yeah,
sure, do it.
All right, if I break it, I'll apologize now. You can see that I do pay my bill, so that's good. I don't my usage shows when I'm logged in and when the bill comes and that I actually paid it. It's good. Yeah, that's me. Of course, lets me have it in my name, so that's good. History there.
Sarah, where's the one where they can put the time frames in it and it spreads that graph out over a duration of time?
Click on billing and payment. Up on the top.
Oh, right. Yeah, so I have both the share screen and the other one, so I gotta move some stuff around. Going in payments.
It just under my account. It might be under my.
That's what I think.
Usage history, very bottom.
Can't receive or breathe. So. You want to do 6 months?
Yeah, let's see what it shows. Kind of breaks it into bigger blocks.
Yeah, and I can add the weather overlay, can't I?
It shows the low and, but, so that's the one of the caveats to it, I do believe, is that the weather only goes back so far, and I'm not sure, I think it's, right now, has only been laid into over, up to, I think,
Okay. Oh,
so it wouldn't go back, with that. But anyways, it just gives it a lot more, usability in terms of, you know, checking things out for customers, being able to print things off. A lot of CSRs are helping customers get comfortable with it, how to log in, just basic kind of information of how to navigate around the platform. And then hopefully in short order, we'll have the mobile app when
It's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
We're running into issues because we can't get access to something because
it's
we have to
another-
leave the department, and Apple is super secure.
Yeah.
So they're dragging it along a little bit.
I did my part to contribute to the peak,
There you go. Look at that.
because it was cold, January 1st.
Yeah, so
Lost
there's,
control of the thermostat.
there's your low and high.
It's that 5 megawatt space heater.
Yeah.
But this helps answer those questions for customers. You know,
The older it got outside, the more consumption there was.
and just the most recent spike there in usage, and then the temp how it has dropped off.
Yeah, there it is. Even in my house, must be true stuff then. All right, let me get out of here before it breaks something.
Thank you.
Share. Sarah, you have it.
All right.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay, energy management. And so I spoke briefly of the IQ income qualifying platform that our efficiency service group has stood up for us, and it has been have had resounding success already. There was a little snafu early on with us getting the email notifications from customers using it and being approved, but we have over 12, almost 15 customers that have used that specifically. So what that has done is, again, alleviated the pressure with the CAP office of having to facilitate those customers and pointed them directly to our platform. And so now Travis and Caesar can take that and then help the customer even that much more, much quicker in doing an energy assessment and working with them to see what kind of programs or incentives they qualify for. So this has been a great, that IQ Service Portal has been great already in helping customers. And again, that's going to be the same platform I want to eventually leverage for our neighbor-to-neighbor customers. It's all the same information that they'll have to load up in there. And then we just get back to the report and we'll be able to help the customer. A lot of this is just, you know, the same kind of information that you see in your board packet in terms of rebates, you know, whether the washers, refrigerators. Some of the weatherization projects, again, have been pretty minimal. Some of that's because of supplies just are way out on all things, it seems like, and has just now started to actually, in terms of notification that things are coming with windows and doors and all the items. That is a big contributing factor for getting that work done. We have seen a fair amount of heat pump water heater rebates that have come through. So customers are still wanting to try to take advantage of the incentives that the utility has. We offer $600 if they purchase and install it. We do have an arrangement with General Pacific that the customer can go through them and it'll be installed and for a different rate. But again, good work, good stuff all happening there. You can see the income qualified project. That's just a little sliver of things to come, all the work that they've been doing And I say they, Travis and Caesar out at Celilo Park, Celilo Village, with those customers out there. So next month, look to have a nice put together kind of hopefully presentation that I'll ask Travis to come in and give to the board, that we should be closer to completion and have kind of a nice summary to put together for that. Commercial projects, there was nothing. What's interesting though is there was nothing for last month, but they have been crazy busy with doing, looking at a lot of commercial buildings for lighting projects. Some of the bigger organizations around town have contacted both Travis and Caesar to have, to come out and do, see what we can't do for lighting projects. So they're counting lights and seeing, working with some of the bigger businesses to, again, it's about them saving money and which they can pass it on to their own consumers. So in kilowatt hour savings right there, it just shows it in relation of what we've been doing versus last year. We've actually are on track, doing a lot better than what we were doing last year. December was just kind of one of those where things were stacked up last year and then submitted for that month. But all things as such, we're on track and doing a lot of good work. Energy management. What I got?
Any questions?
When you're talking about new business stuff, do you know who is going into the old mini mart across from Les Schwab? It looks like they're getting ready to do something out there. Is there an account change where you might know what's going in there?
I do not know. No.
You're supposed to put it on stated.
That was had been passed around in the news. Was it was supposed to be an arcade, family center deal,
years ago.
Family center type business.
Messing with that stuff for months.
Yeah.
Repainting and painting and all kinds of.
Trying to get
rid of It's been a long time. Right. Okay, thank you, Justin, appreciate it. Oh, before you leave, I forgot, Northern Wasco County, your customer's key. You know?
Yeah, they're really, yeah.
It's not pretty about rural life, there's a lot of us old. and that are not quite as computer savvy as but this is still important, really important, so don't forget that.
I thought you wanted an autograph.
I almost asked for one, but I thought I'd embarrass you if I did that. Well done. Okay, General Manager.
Thank you. I will be brief. You guys do a lot of excellent work on behalf of our community, and part of that work is the training that you have taken on, certifications, and I don't ask for much, but what I do ask is always the opportunity to, embarrass you in public, to present your awards. And Mr. Howe, Director Howe, is the first ever recipient from Northern Wasco County PUD of the BLC, or the Board Leadership Completion. So you can share how many total hours this took and how many days, and just very appreciative. And I know you guys do all this on behalf of the community, and on behalf of the community, thank you.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
Good job.
Yeah. On top of that, beer's gonna buy me tonight.
Perfect. Hopefully meant that, Roger. Much of my time has been spent discussing post-2028 contract needs for our organization and for the region. You've heard in multiple facets and from different sections of the organization during their reports, just the value that the Bonneville contract brings to us, not only from a cost perspective, but just as we look at the ongoing sales of the output of our hydro facilities, or the foregone costs when we bring our share of one of them to load, and just how important that is, paramount to the future of this organization, our region. So it shouldn't take as much time as it's taking. We'll also give a plug for Wednesday afternoons, Public Power Council forum talking about the Western Resource Adequacy program that our own power manager, Chris, is going to participate in it and be one of the presenters. And very thankful for his work in the region on that, because it's just as important. Reminder that I'll be traveling next week, first time in a long time, for the Northwest Public Power Association March Board of Trustees meeting. Going to Wyoming. So how that worked out, I'm not sure, but at least it's not Alaska.
Is fishing season there now?
I'm not taking any. Today, let this be the last board meeting behind a mask.
Yay.
So in theory, we are 11 days, because it's been updated again to the 12th, and we have received assurance from Oregon OSHA that they will follow the rest of the state and enable the mandate to end for everyone on the 12th. So may this be the last board meeting behind masks. And also on a personal note, I just wanted to appreciate all of your good wishes. I shared some personal news that come August will welcome the newest flying baby to the world. And so don't look for me in September a lot. I guess it's a message from my wife. Please definitely. Yeah. And lastly, I just want to say, you know, world news doesn't always directly impact us in our community, but this is one of those times. And maybe it was just growing up primarily raised by the side of my family that has escaped Cuba and communism, and having dictators try to push their way around. But just my thoughts and feelings are with the people of the Ukraine. And from a national security standpoint, a few of you have asked me what world tremors could mean to us locally. And, you know, we are part of the bulk power system and the Western grid. And as you heard from folks, we work very hard to ensure that we're as safe as protected as we can be. Just know that the staff is always thinking about those things. And just wanted to mention the people in Ukraine fighting for their freedoms. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Couldn't agree with you more. And also, this is an honor to get that, Roger. I mean, it's not an easy process, and you have to go through a lot of meetings and do a lot of work. So
It was fun. There's still one left. I'm not done.
you shouldn't be. You should be doing those things all the time, if you can. Okay, Mr. Foster, you're up.
Yeah, I have 4 short items. Number one, within the last month, Kathy and I met with the South Wasco County Farmstead people. Remember the people that came with the farm facility, retail facility in Ty Valley?
Right.
Well, they had raised some questions because of potential changes in how they might use the money or the structure or stuff like this. And Kathy was kind enough to set up a conference call with them and myself, and Kathy participated as well. I thought it went very well. I thought they're extraordinary people. And I passed on to them what I think you folks said, which their presentation, at least the written portion of it, was as fine as anything that's been submitted to the PUD under this program. But they were great. I'm not sure whether they're going to get this completed during the fiscal year. And I reminded them that they needed to talk to Kathy about asking for an extension if that was going to happen. But anyway, it was a very positive experience. And Kathy may have other thoughts about it, but I thought it went well. Second thing is we need to amend the general manager's contract. It is not a substantive change. It is a change as a result of our contract says that his salary shall be modified annually during the 3-year term by Portland CPI, by changes in Portland CPI. Portland CPI doesn't exist anymore. So as opposed to Roger just picking a number, which he probably would have been willing to do, I found a more current adjuster, which is the change in language is that the salary shall be adjusted by the total increase in CPI during the preceding term using consumer price index for all urban consumers Pacific region as published by the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. There are a whole bunch of contracts out in the world right now that have Portland CPI as the adjusting factor. It doesn't exist anymore. So we happen to pick up on that. So I don't think it requires a motion of the board since it's not a substantive change. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to ask Howard to sign that amendment as well as Roger Klein. Okay.
Comments, board?
But if you want to discuss it further, feel free, and you can do it in the form of a motion. I don't think it's necessary.
Do you have the numbers close, or do you even have any idea?
No, because we don't know what it's going to be
Yeah, the
until
other did, so there you go.
we know what it was as of January of 2022, and that's the base that you look at it in January 2023, and that tells you what the percentage increase is. But these localized CPIs are basically gone now. It's done by region. Okay.
So the only thought I have is, I'm not adverse to doing this by any stretch, but I'm a little worried about tying it to urban areas because they tend to have
There is no rural.
Okay. They tend to, because the city's jacked the minimum wage.
We've used Portland CPI before, which is essentially an urban, it was an urban CPI.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, but I don't.
Because even the state minimum wage is different in rural areas versus the urban areas. So. But I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I just.
When we have a multi-year contract, instead of having to go back and renegotiate that annual salary,
right.
What we've done is we've tied it to essentially inflation. That's really what CPI is intended to do, so that the employee doesn't lose money during the term by being willing to sign the 3-year agreement. Okay. Okay. The third thing is it's time for the annual evaluation of the general manager. Which everybody forgot, including me, until just recently when I looked at that and thought, geez, we need to do that. So I have brought with me tonight an evaluation form for each one of you, together with a copy of Roger's 2021 performance review submittal that he sent to you folks in on January 10th. What I don't have is what his goals were that he established at the beginning of last year. And so if you can provide that to the board members, so they have to dig around in their computers, they can have those 3 documents, then the evaluation form, what you suggested your goals were for 2021, and then your response to how you think you met those goals.
Understood.
Okay?
Yep.
The final thing I want.
I was going to ask, when is that due back to you?
Pardon?
When do you want that evaluation?
Well, what I'd like to have you do, if you're willing to do it, and if Roger gets his material out to you this week, which I think he will, is that if you can get those to me prior to the next board meeting, I will do a compilation and we'll have a period of time during executive session, which we can schedule to go over a combined evaluation that I do the math on to come up with a common number for everybody, as well as the comments. I would urge you to add comments. I think that's helpful to the general manager, as opposed to numbers. You gotta do the numbers, but it really helps to make constructive comments as well.
Any questions about that?
This is the first time that Greg's had the opportunity to do it, because last year he hadn't.
And I'm itching to do it, Jim.
Pardon?
You may have noticed there were comments on my board review.
Yeah. So the final thing I want to do is to accept your accolades for the fact that the surplus is generated for the district for December and January had a lot to do with my electric bill for my 130-year-old house. I've been consistent over the years, and I just wanted to remind you of that.
We appreciate that. Okay, let's move on. And let's go into the wonderful world of resolutions. So, I don't think the staff knows, but what I did is to, Harvey, what's up?
I'm just up here to do resolution.
Okay. What I did is to make a master list and give all of the board members, and Mr. Foster read in the side, an opportunity to read those resolutions before we vote upon them. So we're going to follow the numerical order from the lowest number to the highest number. And I also listed the page number of their resolutions that they're going to read on the computers. Okay, so we can get all that out of the way. If there's questions, thoughts, or concerns, we can discuss it at that particular time.
Okay. All right.
So let's start off with resolution number 4. Roger Howe. I go from left to right, so I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just going downhill. So Roger, would you like to read resolution number 4, please?
In the matter of amending Northern Wasco County People's Utility District reserve funding levels as recommended by staff. Whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District, a special district in the state of Oregon, has been an electric service provider in Wasco County, Oregon since 1939, providing electrical services to customer owners since 1949. And whereas, as a special district in the state of Oregon, Northern Wasco County PUD is required to comply with local, state, and federal laws. And whereas the Wasco County Northern PUD Board of Directors adopted a financial policy to promote the financial health and stability of the district and protects the ratepayers' assets through clear guidance, fiscal accountability, legal and regulatory compliance, reporting transparency, and consistent risk management. And whereas it is best practice for Northern Wasco County PUD staff to review and update district policies on an annual basis as needed. Whereas Northern Wasco County PUD staff is recommending that the Board of Directors amend the reserve funding levels specified within the financial policy as shown in Exhibit 1, which is here to attach and made a part of this record. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Board of Directors approve the recommendation of Northern Wasco County PUD staff that the reserve funding levels be amended as proposed and shown in the Exhibit 1. Be it enacted by the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District this first day of March 2022.
Thanks very much, Roger. All right. You want to add any of this, or which?
No, I've just to note that this is as it's already stated, this is a critical feature that one helps us to establish a reserve, an intentional methodology for determining its annual sizing of it. That annual sizing is critical for us so that we don't over collect from our customers and we don't under collect from our customers. We have the right sized amount for fiscal stability for the district, and that's in terms of our rates and our financial function. And it also then protects the district from any perception that we're just hoarding money into an account to saying, we've got all this money set aside, now we're going to go ahead and raise rates. Customers need to understand what that money is set aside for, its intended uses, and the protection and the financial health of the district. And that's really what this is. In essence, that is what this is all about. And so on the document itself in the backgrounder, I gave the the recommended 3 changes. One's going to be increasing the working capital fund by $1 million from $3 million to $4 million. And the hydro fund by $100,000 from $1 million to $1.1 million. And the market security and purchase power from $3.5 million to $3.9 million by $400,000. All of these reflect our budgeted activity and assumptions coming up in the current year and give us protection due to any variation on that, and gives our ratepayers protection and gives us fiscal stability. So that would be a total increase in a reserve of $1.5 million. This money would be, as funds become available, it would be swept into our reserve. Now, bear in mind that when we did our rate calculation back in October, and the district and the board adopted our rate increase, baked into that rate increase was the assumption that we would add about $1.6 million to our reserves. So part of the increase of that 2.2% was intentionally set aside to help us build up an adequate reserve, and as part of our financial plan. So if this gets enacted to the board, it won't be on day one that all of a sudden $1.5 million gets swept in. That money will be moved over as it's accrued, basically through our rates into those reserves, and that's the intended pattern.
We talked about this last month.
Yeah, we
right?
did.
Nothing new.
Nothing has changed. This is just a refresh of that background. That's exactly right.
So the resolution can be passed.
Right.
Yep.
So I would move to accept 042022.
Second?
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Wonderful.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Harvey, for sneaking up on us. We appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving down to resolution number 6, that is Wayne.
You don't want 10, 20,
No, I'm gonna go in numerical order.
okay, fine.
Lowest to highest. Fine.
Okay, in the matter of amending the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District Customer Service Policy, Section 14, Protection of the Consumer Health, including elderly and handicapped, Resolution 0602 or 2022. Whereas Northern Wasco County People Utility District, a special district in the state of Oregon, has been an electric service provider in Wasco County since 1939, providing electric services to customer owners since 1949. And whereas a special district in the state of Oregon, Northern Wasco County PUD, is required to comply with local, state, and federal laws. And whereas the Northern Wasco County PUD Board of Directors has adopted customer service policies, which include policies that are part of all oral or written contracts for the delivery of electric energy to Northern Wasco County PUD customers. And whereas it is best practice for Northern Wasco County PUD staff to review and update district policies on an annual basis as needed, and whereas the staff has recommended that the Board of Directors amend Customer Service Policy Section 14, Protection of Consumer Health, including elderly and handicapped, as shown in Exhibit 1, which is here to attach. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors accept the recommendation from staff that the Customer Service Policy Section 14 be amended and retitled as Protection of Consumer Health as proposed in Exhibit 1, and it is thereby further resolved that all prior amendments to Customer Service Policy 14 are hereby declared null and void. Be it enacted by the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District on this first day of March 2022.
Okay, thank you very much, Wayne. Any questions or comments or concerns?
Did you want me to provide any additional summary to it? I mean,
Okay, let's do it quickly.
So, yeah, so quickly.
Here we go.
So, again, so this, it's a what is an outdated process within customer service. And so as we're looking at this and looking at what other utilities are doing, it was just determined that there was some pieces within the policy that the utility hasn't been utilizing for quite some time. And so the best choice or action would be to completely rewrite it. So I had council review it, and for the new rewrite, it really it keeps the same mechanism with regards to maintaining a list for customers who have registered electrical life-saving devices. And that is mainly intended for the utility to contact those customers, taking all necessary means of communicating to them during a planned outage or when there is a planned outage, and if there is outages. And that the whole process with a service limiter, applying that and trying to maintain a deferment certifications from doctors and customers is a risk that the utility I think is just to that extra degree that both on an administrative level is just probably a position that we would want to take stance on. So that's why we've presented this as constructed.
Thank you.
Tried to compact that in.
Well, you know, what you guys, Harvey, and you have just added I think is very important.
Okay.
Because that's a justification of the process. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Not, I'd entertain a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 6-2022.
I'll second that.
Okay. Wayne seconded it. He was a little quicker. Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by yes.
Yes.
I love operant conditioning. It is so funny. Opposed? No. It's unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to number 7. That's Greg.
In the matter of designating representatives as authorized signatories for U.S. Bank, resolution number 07-2022. Whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District has a need to designate representatives who are authorized as signatories for bank accounts with U.S. Bank due to a change in staff. And whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District needs to have Chief Financial Officer / Director of Finance and Enterprise Risk Harvey Hall removed as a designated representative who is an authorized signatory since he is leaving the district's employment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the hereinafter designated representatives are hereby authorized as signatories for bank accounts number blank and blank for Northern Wasco County. There were actually 3 blanks there. For Northern Wasco County People's Utility District and the U.S. Bank. And it is hereby further resolved that said institution is hereby authorized to act without further inquiry in accordance with the writings bearing the signatures of any one such representatives, unless and until it has been notified in writing of any change of representatives and of further authorization for other individuals to sign, together with a specimen of the signatures of each such individual. Roger M. Klein, Title General Manager. Lana Bloomquist Egbert, Title Finance Supervisor. Beth Marie Schroeder, Title Senior Financial Analyst. It is hereby further resolved that the above named individuals have been duly employed to the title set opposite the respective names, that they hold such position at this time, and that their true signatures appear above, and that the above resolution is not in violation of our Articles of Association or bylaws, and was duly authorized at a meeting of the board held on the first day of March 2022. Be it enacted by the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District this first day of March 2022.
Thank you, Greg.
So, as you know, as we have an authorized representative leaving the district, we do need to have that removed for the bank, and they do require the board resolution, and in this particular case, the signers prior to asking to add Roger Klein to that was Harvey Hall, myself, and Beth Schroeder. So with Harvey being removed, we decided it was wise to have Roger added.
Questions, concerns?
This is housekeeping.
Yes,
Yes.
the rest of them.
Exactly. Okay, motion?
I move to accept resolution 07-2022.
Second?
Second?
Okay, Wayne seconded that. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, number 8, Connie.
In the matter of designating representatives as authorized signatories for Wells Fargo Bank, Resolution 08-2022. Whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District has a need to designate representatives who are authorized as signatories for a bank account with Wells Fargo due to change in staff. And whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District needs to have a chief financial officer / director of finance and enterprise risk Harvey Hall removed as a designated representative who is an authorized signator since he is leaving the district's employment. Now therefore, be it resolved that hereinafter designated representatives are hereby authorized as signatories for bank account number, and there's blank, for Northern Wasco County People's Utility District at Wells Fargo, and is hereby further resolved that said institution is hereby authorized to act without further inquiry in accordance with writings bearing the signatures of any one such representative, unless and until it has been notified in writing of any change of representatives and of further authorization for other individuals to sign, together with a specimen of the signatures of each such individual. Roger M. Klein, titled General Manager. Lana Bloomquist Egbert, titled Finance Supervisor. Beth Marie Schroeder, titled Senior Financial Analyst. It is hereby further resolved that the above named individuals have been duly employed to the title set opposite their represented names, and they hold such position at this time, that their true signatures appear above, and that the above resolution is not in violation of our Articles of Association or bylaws, or was duly authorized at a meeting of the board held on the first day of March 2022. Be it enacted by the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District this first day of March 2022.
Thank you, Connie. Anything else to add?
No, the 3 individuals that were named on the resolution were already on the signature card, authorized representatives and signers, and we're just removing Harvey Hall.
Good, thank you. Comments, concerned? If not,
I have a question.
yes.
Can I ask a question?
You may.
These don't indicate whether they're single signature authorizations or multiple signature authorizations. Is it only take one of the authorized signers?
That is correct.
That'll come to the next one.
Okay.
Motion?
I make a motion that we accept Resolution 8-2022.
Second. Second, moved in second. Got that, Kathy? Yep. Okay, any other comments? If not, all those in favor signify by yes.
Yes.
Aye. I was counting the time, and it was just gonna be some smart guy here. So, opposed, nay? Unanimous. Okay? doesn't this add a little bit more excitement to it, you know, the whole process of changing it up a little bit?
Learning.
He doesn't have a choice in this matter, though. He's gonna realize in his life how much he doesn't have a choice over it. All right, resolution 09/2022. Thank heavens I can take that thing off. Woo. Whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District has a need to designate representatives who are authorized as signatories for bank accounts with the Bank of the West due to a change in staff, and whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District needs to have Chief Financial Officer / Director of Finance and Enterprise Risk Harvey Hall removed as a designated representative who is an authorized signator since he is leaving the district's employment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the hereinafter designated representatives are hereby authorized as signatories for bank account numbers. I do have those in my house. For Northern Wasco County People's Utility District, without further inquiry in accordance with writings bearing the signature and/or facsimile of signatures of any one such representatives, unless and until it has been notified in writing of any change of representatives and of further authorization for other individuals to sign together with a specimen of the signatures of each such individuals. Interesting word, isn't it? Roger Klein, General Manager, Kurt Conger, Assistant General Manager, Director of Power Resources. And then Lana and Beth Marie Schroeder and Kathy McBride. It is hereby further resolved that the above named individuals have been duly employed to the title set opposite their respective names, that they hold such position at this time, that their true signatures appear above, and that the above resolution is not in violation of our articles of associations or bylaws, and was duly authorized at a meeting of the board held on the first day of March 22. Adopted by the Board of Directors of Northern Wasco County People Utility District as a regular session meeting held this first day of March 22. And the President and Secretary will sign. Question, comments, concerns?
Why are there more signatures?
Because at the time that those accounts were set up, it was indicated that it required 2 signatures on all checks. Those are our general checking account and our payroll checking account. So we are requiring 2 signatures. That's why there's the multiple.
So this does require 2
yes,
signatures.
yes, and yes.
That's all.
Yep.
Okay, motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept 9/2022.
Second.
Somebody. Second.
Okay. Wayne
Was
said.
that Wayne? Oh.
Wayne.
They're debating back and forth here.
We did rock, paper, scissors, and he won.
All those in favor signify by yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, nay? Okay, 5-0. Okay. We now have moved on to number 10, and Mr. Howe again.
In the matter of adopting the cash management agreement with the Bank of the West, Resolution 10/2022. Whereas the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District, a special district in the state of Oregon, has been an electric service provider in Wasco County, Oregon since 1939, providing electric service to customer owners since 1949. And whereas a special district in the state of Oregon, Northern Wasco County PUD is required to comply with local, state, and federal laws. And whereas Northern Wasco County PUD Board of Directors has adopted a cash management agreement with the Bank of the West, which specifies services that Northern Wasco County PUD will receive from the bank. And whereas staff has received from the Bank of the West an updated cash management agreement between the bank and Northern Wasco County PUD, which needs the Board of Directors' approval. And whereas staff is recommending that the Board of Directors adopt the cash management agreement as updated between Northern Wasco County PUD and the Bank of the West. A copy of staff's recommendation hereto attached and is marked as Exhibit 1. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors adopts the cash management agreement with the Bank of the West as recommended by staff. That approval is subject to the review of General Counsel, and that cash management agreement shall supersede all prior amendments to the agreement be enacted by the Northern Wasco County People's Utility District this first day of March 2022.
More housekeeping.
It is more housekeeping. This agreement allows us to transact and do business with Bank of the West, for example, sending wires, sending ACH payments, downloading our files for payroll, etc. And they do require an current active authorized representative signature on the cash management agreement. And so Roger Klein has signed that. It's the same agreement that we signed last year. It's just updating with an active representative.
I move we accept 10-2022.
Second.
Is that Kathy?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Yes?
Yes.
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 Only a classroom teacher would laugh at that. Opposed, nay? All right, 5-0.
Just not to belabor this lovely process any longer, but the mechanics behind how we move money, I think, are relevant. We don't actually physically sign checks, so I couldn't physically go find a check from any of these accounts and go write one. There's approvals and seconds and approvals and internal controls that are audited and automated through a physical process. In order for a check to have dual signatures, we actually don't even sign them anymore. They're inked in the system. So it's not, none of those people that are mentioned could actually go put their hands on a check and write a check and do malicious or inappropriate acts with them. This is the output of the very secure and current technology financial management programs and systems that we have. So I just wanted to clear that up in case there was any sort of questions about how many signers, who's all authorized. I couldn't go find a damn check in this organization if I wanted to. They don't have access to that. But we still have to have checks and balances and internal controls that are audited by Moss Adams, our external auditor, to ensure that there is appropriateness. So just,
Thank you.
if that helps, I don't know.
Thank you for enlightening us. That's helpful. Okay, we're moving on to number 11, Wayne.
In the matter of designating authorized representatives for the Wells Fargo Bank investment account, Resolution 11-2022, whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District has a need to designate individuals who are authorized as representatives to transfer and invest district funds from the investment account with Wells Fargo Bank due to staff changes, and whereas Northern Wasco County People's Utility District needs to have Chief Financial Officer / Director of Finance and Enterprise Risk Harvey Hall removed as an authorized representative for the district's investment account with Wells Fargo, since he is leaving the district's employment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the hereinafter designated representatives are authorized to transfer and invest district funds from district account number blank for Northern Wasco County People's Utility District with Wells Fargo Bank. And it is hereby further resolved that said institution is hereby authorized to act without further inquiry in accordance with the writings bearing the signature of any one such representative. unless and until it has been notified in writing of any change of representatives and further authorization for the individuals to sign together with specimens of signatures of each individual. Roger M. Klein, General Manager, Lana Blomquist Egbert, Financial Supervisor, Beth Marie Schroeder, Senior Financial Analyst. It is hereby further resolved that the above named individuals have been duly employed to the title set opposite their respective names, that they hold such position at this time, that their true signatures appear above, and the above resolution is not in violation of our Articles of Association or bylaws, and was duly authorized at a meeting of the board held on first day of March 2022. Be it enacted by the Northern Wasco County's People Utility District the first day of March 2022.
Again, this is, I'm sorry?
Anything to add?
Yes, again, this is a housekeeping, removing Harvey, adding Roger. Please note, as Harvey mentioned earlier, in our policy, our financial policy, there is very strict guidelines as to our short-term investments, what we can invest in, and dollar amount, length, et cetera. So those policies are set forth that we have to follow. In addition to that, in your board packet, every month is the investment sheet, and that identifies the short-term investments that we have.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments?
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 11-2022.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, then moving to second, you got that, Kathy? Yep. Okay, great. No further questions?
You got it, vote.
I know.
Oh, okay.
No further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Wasn't that a lot more fun than listening to me reading this whole time? I thought it was.
Wait till we do rates.
I will come up with something for anything that you. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Now, we need to move forward to board reports.
Let staff go.
Yeah, staff, take off.
Those that want to.
All those who want to go, say yes, 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 right here and aye. Aye, yes, aye.
Did you hear Harvey? That was plastic. I love it.
I love it. Whereas, find the
I will
door.
hear it after being home.
Wrap a tree, will you? Thanks, see ya. Thank you. Oh, God, this mask is one of those non-breathable masks.
Thanks, Lana.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Okay, let's go to Connie, OPUD
Okay.
Association report.
All right, so we had, this was from the Alcoota meeting on February 17th. The special guest, Representative Gomberg, reported that they are at the midpoint of the short legislation. Bills getting the most attention are agricultural overtime, forestry accord, special service, self-service gas, and the home cooling bill that has broad support. State of Oregon has unexpected extra revenue, and the topic of whether to invest the extra revenue has yet to be decided. Indoor mask mandate will be lifted by March 31st, but the mandate could be lifted as soon as March 18th, which has changed again to March 12th. Lower Snake River dams continues to be an ongoing concern. Brian Allman from the BPA will no longer be giving transition reports at the opening meetings, and Suzanne Zoller will be taking his place. BPA employees will begin to return to work in phases. This change means that the employee travel will resume. Fire reported as we get closer to March, the likelihood of good solid rain and snow starts to diminish, but we are still hopeful that we could get some good rain. Everyone, now this is the business part of the meeting, is everyone is in agreement to move the Alcoota meeting to the fourth Thursday of the month. In March, the meeting will be virtual. Each PUD was asked to bring a count to the March meeting of those who are planning to attend the April, May, and June meeting in person. Virtual attendance will also be available. SDAO would like to host a dinner on Wednesday evening, the night before the April OPUDA meeting, and would like to have a count of how many would attend. The OPUDA annual meeting is planned for September 4th to the 16th.
Okay, is that, well, we already made that agreement, basically.
We did, but you guys didn't say if you'd, I think there's 4 going to April. Yeah, 4. 4 yeses and 1 maybe in April. So of the 4 yeses, are you gonna be there Wednesday night?
Yes. No, oh, April, yeah.
That's your fault. Yep.
Yep. How about you, Howard? You gonna be there Wednesday night?
Yeah.
So we'll have 4 that'll be there Wednesday night too. Okay, that's, and I'll,
27.
the 27th.
Right.
When are you gonna give them your number?
Well, I'm gonna write this down. Well, I was thinking, I don't know, we were just talking about emailing them. They never said how to do it. I mean, if they wanted us to just bring them up in the meeting or, but I will send some ahead and then I'll just bring them the new numbers in the March meeting.
Because I,
Well, no, I'm gonna have to
sure,
send
but
it
I
ahead.
may go, and if I go, I'd go Wednesday.
You would? Okay.
If I go. So I,
Okay, yeah, let me know, because what I plan to do, I mean, I could go ahead and reserve a hotel room for all of you. And then hopefully, with 20's numbers, we could update them more current.
Yeah, you're right.
Association money.
That's a good move.
I should send it in early.
I would.
Yeah, I definitely will.
And then I plan to make room reservations. That's why I put the lodging on there, so that if you guys were planning to attend the PPC that's in person in April, I will get you lodging the night before.
May.
Or May for the PPC, but April, May, and June for OPUDA. I'll just get reservations, and then if you can't go, I'll just, as long as we meet the,
I've got a couple question marks on mine, so just take a look at them. One was that May,
HCA, I know was one.
well, the May, what was that, OPUDA meeting? Because that follows the day after the Northwest Public Power meeting in Coeur d'Alene. So I didn't know that, and I planned some other things for my wife, so I don't know. I've got to find that out. And I'll let you know as soon as I know.
Okay, that sounds good.
You might as well reserve a room for me just in case. It's easier to cancel.
Yeah, it's totally easier.
I have it on,
So if you can do that for that.
and I asked.
And I'll send you guys confirmation information as well.
Great, thank you. Okay. Thanks, Connie. Any other questions or concerns about Connie's report? Okay. Discussion on results of board performance and review. Where is that? Here it is.
so we talked earlier about having a work session on that, right?
Would you like to summarize that?
For our discussion.
Yeah.
So I think we were all here, except maybe Connie wasn't, but we talked about maybe doing it at a different time, so we didn't spend extra time in a regular board meeting, where we could have a work session and go over the review, the board self-review. And I think that's appropriate, in my opinion, because it could take a while to talk through some of the issues on the review, who knows?
Right. And time is something, it's up to anybody here. And I don't know what time you could meet in the afternoon, what time you're done teaching, or you need to go just in the evening, because we'll work around you.
I like evenings, but I'm generally can get out by 4 most days.
So what do you think? What's your preferences?
I would say we work around Greg, I don't care.
Any afternoon after 4, I pretty much can do it.
4 o'clock on? Okay,
If we volunteer to send out a poll and figure out what day works best.
perfect.
So the other question that I raised is whether you wanted to invite anybody else to help facilitate some of your discussions. And I suggested maybe Cindy, just because there are some, that's the kind of stuff she does. And I think it's taking benefit of the staff that you've got here. They're gonna sit, and she's not gonna tell you what to do, but
Right,
she certainly can help get you thinking about things that maybe, this is gonna show up. And she should see this before that meeting if you're gonna invite her, but that's your call.
Is that okay with you guys? I think that's a good idea.
What is her job title?
Corporate Services, Director of Corporate Services, so HR, Public Affairs, and
That's what I
Government
want to
Affairs.
hear.
Yeah. I think she'll be good at that.
She has gone doing some traveling, and I'm not sure, so,
You'll get back to that.
okay,
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
doesn't have to be done in the next week or so.
No,
This is something you need
this
to
is
get
not
to.
a criteria, but it is important because of the 2 new board members coming on play next year. It's gotta be done way before that.
Speaking of criteria, when do you need these back for Rogers?
I ask you to get them back to me a couple of days before the board meeting in April, so that I can have an opportunity to compile them.
Down in your office, or?
Yeah, that's the best way, is either drop them off or stick them in the mail to me. If you don't have my mail address, call my office,
You know where you hang
because
out.
I can't remember my mail address.
We'll drop something.
2 of the 1 5-page sheet.
What'd you say?
I got 2 of the 5-page sheets in mine.
Well, then you're lucky, you get to read it twice.
Did anybody not get one of the 5-page sheets?
No,
5-page?
that was Roger's thing. And remember, okay,
There you go.
yeah, you did.
Don't say I
Yeah,
never
I
gave you
did.
anything.
It's in the back, isn't it? It was supposed to be.
Maybe I got 2.
So, what?
I said, maybe I got 2 here.
You got 2 evaluations you didn't get.
Yeah.
That's an extra evaluation.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and there's the extra sheet.
And remember, Roger's gonna send you his,
He already did.
amazing, amazing. He wasn't paying
Didn't
attention.
everybody's pop up on their screen? Mine popped.
Wasn't listening to those resolutions.
No, I didn't pay attention.
Whereas,
Yeah, they're in the middle of that.
I could write a resolution. Maybe I'll do it.
Okay. All right. No, where are we here?
We're on number 3 under board report.
Thank you. Board training is required by the SDAO Best Practices Program.
okay. So, I listed myself. So as you know, I've been, making sure that I work through, so we get the 10% every year for our insurance discount for the best practices. Well, as Jeff Griffin has told you in a prior meeting just this year, that they were focusing on boards this year. So in order to get 2% in 2 categories, it really shines on the board to step up and do some things. So under number 4 on the best practices, and it's page 134, I believe. It shows for 2% practice or 2% credit, we can either the board of directors and management staff, the board would at least one member of the board has to attend, oh wait, I should say, take that back. All members of the board have to attend one online or in-person class regarding board members' duties and responsibilities. And what it all comes down to, a lot of you have already went through the NRECA board training, but no other training counts towards this program. So,
Of course not.
but I did go online and look at the last 2 bullet points under that section 4. the
So you
boardmanship
saying
for
that
one-
one does count?
No, it will not count.
Yeah.
Of
No.
course not.
They're gonna make you do more.
They want you to buy their.
They want you to participate. So the boardmanship, 301 and the boardman, or the boardroom dancing, that's not very hard. I mean, you guys could pick one of those and do the training, let me know that you've done it. But it requires all 5 of you to do that. So I would suggest that you look online for those. Oh,
May I offer a suggestion?
yes.
If you come in to do the board workshop,
Oh,
we could host said virtual training,
oh.
Great idea.
knock it out. And
Yeah, it's not, I mean, I think it's, different sections maybe, oh, I'm thinking of the educational, the academy, so let me not say how long those other ones are. They're not very long, the other two, and we could just pick one of them and you guys can, great idea, Roger. And then the one that, and I don't know, Howard, if you'll be appointing, but at least 2 members of the board will need to enroll in their board leadership academy at no cost. There's 4 different sections, and that will take some time. But we have till the first part of November, so the board will have between now and October to complete that academy.
Takes 2 board members?
Huh?
Takes 2 board members?
Yes, we have to have at least 2 board members that need to enroll.
How long time commitment are we talking about?
A lot more than that.
Module 1 has 6 bullet points. I don't know if it's got 6 sessions.
Yeah, there's 6 different categories.
And module 2 has 3 bullet points.
Yeah, and I did give you the academy information, and then you have to keep track of, there's a tracker page that I gave you at the last part of the board packet that you would keep track of when you completed your coursework.
I'm gonna volunteer something like, give me for this. Give me the contact information of special districts. I'm gonna make the case that the certifications that they've already completed, 4 out of the 5 are equal to or greater than what they're gonna offer at special districts, and let me at least try that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Because that's really true.
And one VLC and guy that's already almost half done with the other one.
Yeah, I think I can make a good case for the certifications that you guys have already done should.
If that doesn't work, use money.
Again, we pay them either way, so I just assume get the benefit.
So
happy to make that my list.
Okay.
are we caught up with everything from you, Kathy?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
At the last board meeting, a motion was made to appoint Wayne and Howard to the Audit Risk Committee. And my sense of that was, historically, that committee was appointed 2 years ago, and it was Roger and Connie, and that appointment morphed into the Risk Management Committee as well. So essentially, if you were on the Risk Committee, you were on both of those 2 committees. Kathy understood the motion, and I think accurately, that the motion had to do with the Audit Risk Committee only. Since there clearly are now, at least it's deemed by management, there are 2 committees as opposed to 1 risk committee. The question is, and I just, for clarification, think it would be helpful to know whether the intent was to have Howard and Wayne be the representatives of the board on both those committees, or just on one of those committees and the 2 of you were going to stay on the other committee? Or was it even thought about?
I don't think it's even thought about. And I thought, in fact, we've already done 2 years. We didn't need to do another 2, but.
Well, they're pretty consistent. The committees are somewhat consistent. And again, they morphed from one. There wasn't a separate appointment last time that I'm aware of to the Risk Management Committee. You guys just became a part of that, as I did. So I think just for clarification, it'd be helpful for you guys to make a decision as to who's on first. Okay? Roger, as a.
So for clarification, we've got an Audit and Risk Committee. That's one committee. What's the other one?
Risk Management Committee, I guess is what the other one's called. Roger?
So I decided to take on those responsibilities from Harvey's role as he departs. And I'd like to have a little bit of time in there. Let's leave the board at the and general counsel at the audit risk committee level. And then let me work with staff on that RMC level staff work before we try to take more time, but more of your guys' time. I don't know if you need to be on both. I think one needs to be subservient to the other in a reporting structure.
Yeah, I thought the risk management committee did some really significant work. I thought the evaluation going through that process after the staff had done it was really helpful. So I'd hate to see that committee go away.
That's not the intent. I just don't want to eat up more of the time of those members and let them be the representatives during the report out. But obviously all that work is going to come here anyway.
And I gotta be very honest, because I am a short timer here. And for me to get involved in something that lasts more than a year is crazy. Because.
Well, were those actually a 2-year commitment?
Was not a 2-year commitment. Just what the committee wasn't replaced after a year. It took you a year to get on board, kind of.
Right.
To understand the process. The second year was really more effective, particularly with the risk management.
Right. I think there was transition going.
The RMC meets during the day when staff is here, so that kind of disconnects maybe some availability of current and future board members. But again, I don't want to commit you guys to more stuff that it's kind of part of the bread and butter of the organization. It's not an exclusion, it's a, are you available and are you going to have value in that rather than the whole board getting the meat and potatoes and then even further and in depth during the audit risk committee.
To quote Rosanna, Dana, never mind.
Hey, enough said. I think
Connie remembers who that was.
I think go forth and multiply. No puns intended.
He already has.
That's how we got into this.
No, seriously.
One left at that stage of their life.
So,
My participation is minimal.
That was kind of funny, Roger.
Okay, would you like to adjourn?
Are you done? Okay, anything else come before the board? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. 8:36. Thanks for those who stuck with us. Appreciate it.
Did people stick with it?
Did anybody stick with us that long? CCC News and Mr. Nichols.
Great. Live a life, Roger.
Hey, Raj.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rock it alive.
Rock on,
Thank
people.
you.
Hit it, Roger.
Take care.